Good evening and welcome. I'm Anne. Lately, my husband and I have been walking in the English moors just up behind where we're staying. To get to the top means walking up some pretty steep and stony tracks. These tracks are rough. In places, the rain has gouged out the gravel. After rain, there are puddles and muddy sections we have to make our way through. And although we are constantly walking upwards, every now and again we'll find ourselves having to step down deeply into a rut that's been dug out into the path. The gravelly rocks can be loose and slippery, and some of the bigger rocks quite wobbly. Now, I'm not always sure-footed, so I find I must keep my eyes focused on the ground directly in front of me, so I know where next to put my feet and not trip. However, this limits my views of the moors, which is why I'm there. So sometimes I deliberately pause to look up and around me and see what there is to see. And what I see reminds me why I'm walking on this particular path. The rugged beauty of the moors opens up in front of me. It takes my breath away. I see a sheep grazing on pastures. I see the dark shades of tussock grass and soft mauves of flowering heather, windswept fields and hedgerows as I look down into the valley below. And when I look upwards, I can see smooth mounds of grass and earth along a blue, silver grey skyline. Then the path I'm following beckons me onward. I've also discovered that I wasn't as fit as I needed to be. Little used muscles protested. At times it was hard to draw breath. But the more I walk these paths, the fitter I am becoming. Life takes each of us on journeys, sometimes into experiences of our choosing, other times not so. The paths we take can test our endurance. They can be rough and hard going. And when things get difficult, you may find yourself asking, why me? Why must I suffer? How much longer? Psalm 23 talks about letting God lead us on his path for us. His path will take us into green pastures where we can rest and beside quiet waters that help restore our battered and bruised hearts and souls. But sometimes it takes us into difficult and rough terrain and unknown territory, into valleys of shadow. But in those moments, he will protect and encourage you. He invites you to pause now and then to look up from your difficult path, to pay attention to the moment that will remind you of his love and grace, and then be thankful for it. Maybe the only good thing on a really bad day is that you managed to make it through. Perhaps you only got to stop and look up once, but in the moment saw an amazing sunset. Or maybe in that moment, a friend called to see how you're going. These moments are God's gifts to encourage you and remind you that when you follow Jesus on his path, he is always with you. When your knees are weak and wobbly, he will strengthen you. When you seek the Holy Spirit's wisdom, you will go on your way in safety and your foot will not stumble. When you walk in the dark and have no light, you can trust in the name of the Lord and rely on your God. If you're struggling at the moment, J. Philip Newell has a prayer you may want to be encouraged by. God before me, God behind me, God above me, God beneath me. I am on your path, O God. You, O God, are on my way. In the twistings of the road, in the currents of the river, be with me by day, be with me by night, be with me by day and night. Mary C. Earle, another author, writes that in the course of a life, in the walking of a spiritual path, there will be times when we feel lost or confused, abandoned or betrayed. She shares an old Gaelic prayer that affirms God's strength and constancy, no matter the circumstances we may encounter. In closing, I share it with you. As the rain hides the stars, as the autumn mist hides the hills, as the clouds veil the blue sky, so the dark happenings of my lot hide the shining of thy face from me. Yet, if I may hold thy hand in the darkness, it is enough. Since I know that though I may stumble in my going, thou dost not fall. May you be encouraged this evening. Bye for now.